Afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. This is Dan Anderson wishing you a hearty welcome on this week's webinar. For those of you who are new, excuse me, this is the weekly pulse beat of Leo. We've been running this call here now for some 7 years, and we've missed 2 sessions over some public holiday or other, but we're pretty happy about our performance on this, because this is kind of where you get the news, the information, what's going on, incentives, updates, important notices, if you like. And usually I try to get on myself, which is one of my great duties, if you like, because I think that it's important that there's no one in the company, including its CEO and president, that's too important to speak to our members, because the members are the heart of our business. Now, it's a fairly, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. It's a fairly standard call this week. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you that are quite important. But broadly speaking, we're at a very, very interesting kind of dynamic in our business now. There seems to be all sorts of competitive interest in Leo, and there seems to be all sorts of, I don't know, would-be enemies if we had enough time to pay them attention. We have a competitor company that is calling themselves Leo in China, marketing daily returns and some sort of scam or other with my face all over it, and it's very, very annoying because they're a scam. We don't kind of it's very hard to find them and reach them. But I suppose plagiarism and copycats are the sincerest form of flattery, so we'll take it from there. The other thing that seems to be happening a lot is there's a lot of wild rumors in the market, and the rumors of all sorts of bad things happening to me are wildly exaggerated. So it's quite amusing. I think Winston Churchill famously said, "You'll never get anywhere if you stop to kick every dog that barks." So we feel that when it comes to negative publicity and when it comes to people making allegations and stuff, it's far better to not feed the animals. In other words, if you engage with it, it kind of takes on a life of its own, and so it's better to just not feed the animals. So we move on joyously with our business and are quite happy. We've got some stuff to share with you today that will probably make you quite happy as well. But first, as always, we do recognition. We talk about events. We got some updates on the child education package Momentum 2019, executive trip to Cambodia, and Leo Coin. I spy with my little eye that we got a very, very good attendance here with hundreds of people all over the world, and what that also means is that in any given location there's always a good chance that we have a group of Leo members huddled around this. So there might be sort of 10, 20, 50 people sometimes listening on a call behind every single entry on this webinar. So you are most welcome. And we also have me here, Magudia, on the call, who'll be sharing his update from his weekend's activity, and you'll hear about that as we go forward. But I want to celebrate with all of you and give recognition to our newest marketing director, Nunlanla Anacleta Nompumel Bukosini, and I think I got that absolutely perfect. She is our first marketing director in the Leo Africa region, and she achieved this in under 6 months, which is not quite the world best Leo time to marketing director. Stone in Canada has that privilege. But Nunlanda has obviously done extremely well. And what is cool is this new continent coming on board with Leo is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that was one of the reasons really why I started this business, to be a multicultural business, to be a global business, and to be a business that celebrated diversity. Diversity is empowering, and we've always felt that. And that goes back to my experience of working in TN's, a Chinese company that had a very strong African business. I started in the UK in that company as a sales director, and we had a very strong, again, African London business, which was absolutely extraordinary. But some of the most hardworking, kindest people, some of the most intelligent people I've ever come across. And I've always known that Africa has this enormous potential, and for many reasons, mostly to do with economy and politics. It's kind of had its fair share of challenging roads to face, but Africa is coming. I can feel it in my bones, and I'm very, very excited to be fighting a entrepreneurship battle in Africa, where we can help and do our bit to bring entrepreneurship to another level, and to bring digital currencies into the marketplaces there, and bring e-learning and education and live seminars, so this is in no small way fulfilling a little bit of a life bucket list goal for me, to build a strong African business, and things come when they're supposed to, and it's coming now, this is because of people like Nolanda and her leaders, and the other leaders that work in Africa. I have to give special recognition to some people in the UK team, Charlie and Ash, of course, but I also know that we have many leaders from Ame Balas to Dr. Javid and others who are working strongly and building and bringing Leo into the African market. So congratulations, Nonlala, and I look forward to meeting you in the flesh as soon as is humanly possible. I can't wait to get down and see if we can do some events and work on the business together. So congratulations again for Marketing Greater. Now, me here, are you online and are you unmuted? Because we've had an event in South Africa, in Johannesburg, this weekend on Saturday, and I have to give special recognition to me here and Andy Hansen, because they flew out on Friday night, arrived on Saturday morning, did this anchored up this event as speakers. And then on Sunday, they did leadership sessions and meetings and trainings with some of the leadership groups there, and flew back on Sunday night, and only arrived back in the UK at 5 o'clock this morning, and is on this call even as we speak. Me here, are you there?
I am. I'm still here. Not faded yet.
That's quite a tough weekend then, in many ways.
It was tough, but it was invigorating. It was inspiring. It was one of the best events we've ever done. There was 3,000 people from South Africa, from Swaziland, from Lesotho, from Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, maybe even Kenya, I think, all over the place, mainly that Southern African region. And there was 3,000 of them in this room.
Which makes it almost arguably one of the biggest events we ever had. I mean, I think that the event in Shanghai was greater than that. But it's just a land. This is your first event in South Africa.
This is the first event that we've sent corporate people to in South Africa. This is the first event that I've certainly spoken at in South Africa, and it was the first time for me and Andy to visit the country as well, and to have 3,000 of them turn up and stay for what was a 7-8 hour session. Obviously various speakers. It wasn't just me and Andy going on for that long, but lots of speakers, lots of events and bits inside it. But to have them all stay for most of that time was absolutely incredible.
Now, an event of 3,000 people doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Are there people that we should especially thank and commission for making this happen?
Now, sort of the way I think most of that South African team there sort of comes from a couple of different well-known leaders we have in the business. So there's sort of a Cape Town team, which is in the downline of Rachel from the Philippines, who everyone will know and love. And if you're coming to Brazil, you'll see her in just a few days' time. And she was there with her wonderful, wonderful people from Cape Town. And then the other chunk of the room, which was sort of the bigger group, was sort of this Johannesburg, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland sort of team that sort of sits under Charlie and Ash out of the UK, but actually is directly sponsored by two people who aren't so known well, called people who aren't known so well, called Ted and Jasmine, and they're relatively new members. I first met them at the launch of Leo Property Crowd. I think it was in January or so, and they were there as well. Yeah. And they were sort of two new members who are working together, building a thing, and they're the immediate upline of this incredible new business that sort of has exploded in South Africa. So they're certainly future stars of our company, and very, very happy for them. And the organization, the work that went into it, the African leaders, the South African leaders did huge amounts of work, working day and night to get this together, to get this done. Charlie and Ash worked tirelessly night after night after night, and it really was pulled together in a superb way for such a massive event, with so many moving parts and so many challenges and so many things you had to overcome. It really, really did work very well.
I was reading in some article about American politics just actually literally yesterday that said that one of Trump's events was so big that the overflow areas had overflow areas, and that seems to be what we had here, really, and not just fake news.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there was, by the end of it, by the time everyone was sort of gathered for it at the start, it was standing room only at the back. When you consider that's 3,000 people, and I don't know how many chairs there were, but there weren't quite enough, because it went on and on and on. And even the morning of the event, they were opening up new areas, opening up a new back area to put more and more chairs in to get as many people as we possibly could. But then even the doorways were thronged with people, and the entrances and exits were all thronged with people just listening to what we were saying, talking to each other, getting really excited about Leo and the incredible conversation we could have with them.
And the sponsors of this business, then, they're not our sort of biggest rank achievers as far as that goes.
No, this is a real sort of grassroots movement. This is people who have been with us maybe a little time or even a short time, and they've built and they've built and they've built, and they obviously seized an opportunity. Rach, as we all know, is someone who's superb at social media and online marketing, and knows exactly how to build a business using those tools. And what they've done is they've made connections. They've had opportunities, they've had friends, they've made that all-important call they're probably a bit too afraid to make, and they've done it. And look what can happen. This probably started with just one phone call or one WhatsApp message or one FaceTime. And then all of a sudden, just a few months later, you've got 3,000 energetic, excited, glorious people in the room, all wanting to be part, and all a great part of the Leo family.
That is just such a brilliant story. Now, these are organized people, these are structured people, these are people who know the game and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're hugely impressive networkers. I mean, I had the opportunity to speak to a few people at the big event, but then Andy and I had a bit of a leadership meeting the following morning, and having the opportunity to listen to them, listen to their questions, talk to them about their vision for Leo, their plans, their ideas, how they want to build this market. These are serious networkers with serious levels of experience who know exactly what they're doing and know exactly how to build a credible and legitimate business in their area. And just really impressive people with great stories.
Yeah. And so what's their attraction then? So if you're a experienced networker, you have choices, and your first company maybe you sort of fall into, but your second and third and fourth you kind of choose. What are they looking for, and what are they finding in Leo?
Well, in that region, in probably that entire continent, there's a real problem with scams and fly-by-night merchants, people who will promise you the world and then disappear within a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. What these people were so excited is that they'd found a company with the right plan and the right products, but also a company that was committed to the long term, that already had a great track record, that was registered and an active part of its local direct selling association. This was they saw Leo as the credible, honest, and trustworthy choice for them, because you're right, they do have choices. There are companies all over the world that they could have done something with, and given their experience and skills, they probably would have had some success there. But they actively made a decision to choose Leo because of the legitimate way in which we're operating there, because of the credibility and the way we act, and because we're an established business that is committed to the long term. We're an established business with a long-term vision and long-term plans, and we're not the sort of people who jump into a market, take what we can, and then just disappear as quickly as we can.
Because it really is, in networking terms, a real Cinderella story, this, on so many levels. Because if you consider that we've got relatively kind of not the highest ranks who picked up the phone or who did a WhatsApp message or a FaceTime or whatever it was that they did, and they sponsored someone that was really someone who was more experienced than them, then these people pick up and run with the business, and then the sponsors get support from their upline, Charlie and Ash. And I know exactly what you're saying, because Charlie and Ash have worked so hard, and they're so committed, and they're so, I mean, it sounds a little bit sort of weird, but they are so loving of their South African business. And there's something about this that ticks the boxes in so many different ways, that everyone on this call, you've got to remember this, that your business can totally transform on the next time you call someone. Or it could be that you've already sponsored someone, and then in 6 months' time, the combination lock unlocks with the final digit, and they explode into a market. I know that we're going to have this story repeating itself in Leo in Brazil. We're going to have this story repeating itself in South Korea. We're going to have this story repeating itself in any number of markets, just because an ordinary member, an aspiring person who wants to do something with Leo, picked up the phone and called a person just one more time. Because usually what I see is how people kind of get, oh, this is tough, oh, this is so difficult, oh, this is so challenging, oh, people say no, I hate the rejection, all of these things, and they actually then they plug into the weekly webinar, but they're not calling people in between. And I know that on this call here now, that might be you, and that might be you, and might be you, because it's exactly the trap of direct selling, that you have to have your own engine running, and you have to call people. If you don't pick up the phone, if you don't pick up the connection platform of your choice, if you don't reach out to people, nothing happens. So so me here, you also did sort of a leadership group for what, 60, 70 people?
Yeah, something like that. It was 60, 70 people in the room from various downlines, certainly not just all one team.
Yeah.
They're from sort of all over the region, from Cape Town, from Johannesburg, from Port Elizabeth, from Durban, from, gosh, Swaziland, Lesotho, Botswana. It was that sort of feeling of sort of the southern half of Africa had sort of woken up to Leo and decided that, and realized that this was the opportunity for them. So it was a really sort of powerful meeting. And they've all got experience, they all know what they're doing, and they've all got ideas and input. What they're doing is they're taking responsibility for their markets, they're taking responsibility for their business, and with obviously the help and support that we can provide, they're doing it they're building in the right way. They've made a decision to make sure they build this business sustainably and responsibly, and grow in exactly that proper way. And that's what they're doing there, and that's what they're committed to doing, certainly on Sunday. And it's just really exciting because they've done so much in such a short time. Now we've turned up. Now we've had the event, now we've given out the awards, we've recognized people, they know we are real, they know we're here to stay, and they know we're committed to their markets. I mean, you can only imagine what they can do in the next 3 months.
Because I plugged into the meeting on Saturday on Skype, and one of the things that I was very keen to get across is that we're here for the long term. We're here to build a proper business in South Africa as well as everywhere else. And one of the things that I said to them, which I'm sharing on the global webinar now, is that we will now engage with South Africa, and we will do everything we need to do to be a compliant business, and we will pay our taxes, and we'll be a good corporate citizen, and we will task our good friend and advisor, Paul Southworth, OBE, former chairman of the UK DSA and an advisor now to Leo, and we will task him with connecting into the DSA in South Africa so that we get a proper start to our business. And what follows on from that for all of you who are in a new market or in any market is you have to do responsible selling. It's very easy to take shiny bits out of Leo and exaggerate them beyond all recognition. You can hype anything together. We've seen adverts from South Africa where people are looking for 10 lazy people who want to have a residual income, and that's not the way. There's nothing going to happen here unless you work hard and network and build a proper direct selling business that's focusing on the products, that's focusing on what we do. If you treat this as an investment opportunity, don't be surprised if you kill your own business before it's even started. So we will love you like a mother, and we will love you like a father, but what we do want to say to all of you from Africa and from any market, and indeed everyone on this call really, we're in this mess together, we're in this Leo together, we're in this family called the Leo family together, and it's just a breath of fresh air to have a brand new market like this, because that starts to add some power. It's kind of like We've got a strong Chinese and Asia Pacific business. We've got a strong Dubai and Pakistani business, to not put too fine a point on it, and other regions around there. We've now got some very, very strong movement happening in Europe and in the Caribbean, and I know Brazil is going to be next. But with South Africa and the African markets, we will now have some real power. That's what I see. So I'm very, very excited by that. So let's move on in the interest of time. Anything else that really stands out me here? Because one of the things that we were laughing about is that they have so much positive energy.
Yeah, I mean, they don't walk up to the stage to collect their checks and to collect their awards. They dance up to the stage.
Really?
When 3,000 people hear something they like, you know about it. In that room, the roof lifts off when they cheer. It's a country full of energy, and it was a room just so filled with the best and the most excited people that you ever be lucky enough to meet.
Oh, that is just such a nice thing to have, and such a we invited a couple of the VIPs to come with us to Brazil, right?
Yeah, so two of them. So two members from South Africa will be recognised. Will be in Brazil to sort of represent their new impact on the Leo business there and the Leo family, and just to get to know some of our big leaders and people who've been with us a while. Just get to be part of that Leo family and understand this global business that's going to be landing in Brazil in, gosh, a couple of weeks' time.
I know, it's insane, isn't it? Okay, very, very cool. Okay, let's move on. So the other update that I have for you all here today is that we just made a small micro adjustment, but kind of an important one for the charity packs. Yeah, as you recall, it was the case that there was 80 BP and RP on these, and of course we're still keeping the 80 BP. So there's a £150 package, and you get 80 BP for that, because we want to make sure that we contribute the maximum to the cause or causes that we're supporting. But we have also decided that in order to help people really position this as a pack to sell to people, especially when they're starting up, we're taking the RP from 80 and raising it to 125 RP on the first pack that you buy. If you can buy a maximum, I think, of 10. So the remaining 9 packs, if you really wanted to contribute to children's education, they would be at 80. But the first one is 125, which positions you immediately then as a bronze member. And all of you who understand the plan, you'll understand how you can use that and promote that. But that gives us something that is quite cool, because that gives us pretty much kind of guaranteed sales of this. So there'll be a trickle of sales that happen here, and some of the stuff that we're going to show you in Brazil on the projects that we've got now going and coming through will be just hair-raising. We will change the lives for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of underprivileged kids all over the world, probably millions by the time we get this really scaled up. So this is a big one, and this is just a small micro adjustment, but an important one. Now, the Momentum Tour, just a couple of announcements there. The incentive period is over. Participation numbers are being finalized. We might have some spare seats on China's biggest luxury cruise liner, which will go as a buy-in in the beginning of April. The Chinese cruise, Mihir, you attended that, didn't you? And it's kind of, as far as I remember, it's the largest cruise liner, the largest cruise ship out of China, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the largest cruise liner in the whole Asia Pacific region, and one of the largest in the world. It really is an enormous thing. I remember when I got on the thing, I stood on the dock and sort of looked up, and couldn't quite bend my neck back enough to see the top. It was that tall. I had to sort of bend my knee to do some sort of gymnastic exercise. It was really, really big. It's got its own helipad. It's got multiple stories, thousands of berths, and a big old theatre, casinos, shows, sports, a giant. I think a couple of swimming pools, virtual reality. I mean, it's an amazing place.
Yeah. So this is where we're taking our members for the Momentum Tour in the Asia Pacific region. But because we might have some spare seats, there might be some very, very lucky people, and watch this space for further announcements. But that is big as well, and likewise the Dubai region conference. There'll be some announcements coming about that very, very shortly. The executive trip in Cambodia. This is kind of Mihir's hot button, but he was there doing a scout and a recce, and the way he talks about the country, and it kind of turned into a thing that was not on my bucket list, but is now on my bucket list, and I'm very, very much looking forward to being there with our executives, and we've got a good number of people there now. So this is very, very cool. And if you've got people who can go executive, encourage them to go executive between the 1st of July 2018 and the 31st of March. That's the end of this month that we're in now to qualify for this, as in kind of important that you do. And if you're qualified, how many people do you want to take with you? Just get it done. Now, the Leo Coin 3, again, as all IT projects since the dawn of mankind, every IT project tends to be a bit delayed and dragged on, and certainly it's been very frustrating for Leo Coin 3 things there. But having said that, being in the know, like me here and I are, we're very, very pleased with how the development is going. And it's actually moved now to a very, very critical stages where they're doing the audit and testing of the final code. So this is just around the corner. And the reason that it's taken longer than we anticipated is that we are actually not just carbon copying an EC20 token, or we're not just doing another thing. We're contributing to digital currencies and doing innovation and things that people haven't done before, and getting into our DNA a little bit, because we are fundamentally a direct selling company. So we have metrics of recruitment, and we have skills in terms of training and duplication, and some of those things are working themselves into now Leo Coin, which will create then a very differentiated coin that will be different from what else is out there. And this is kind of the moment since 2014 when we launched the first blockchain of the Leo Coin. It's now coming full circle to 2019, 5 years later. Our Leo Coin is 5 years old, and we are still there. We're still fighting. We're still slogging away. And this is the time, and this is the place. That's all I will say about that. But everything is ready. Everything is just ready to go, and we're just in that sort of final stage, which sometimes, as you know, can be a little bit frustrating, and it can take a little bit longer than we wanted. But it is just there. So that's kind of very, very exciting. We also have the Platinum incentive, and I'm just putting this up there so that there's no confusion. The Platinum rank achievement is achieved on 4,000 weaker leg volume, but we have dropped it down to 3,000. So take advantage while it lasts. This is not something that's going to stop tomorrow, to be fair. We see that we can run this for a little bit, but it's not something that will last forever. And there will be people later on in the year who say, wow, you managed to get to Platinum on 3,000. I've got to do 4,000. So one of the sayings that we kind of have taught our field is that the early bird gets the worm. It's kind of the part of our philosophy of fast is better than slow. It's basically move now. Don't wait until the temperature of the water is just perfect and the sun is shining at just the right angle and you're surrounded by lifeboats before you jump into the water. No, go now. Do it now. Use what you have now, and don't wait for an imagination, some imaginary perfection when oh, if only we had this, then I could do it. It's all excuses. The people who capitalize and do well in business, and people who do well in Leo are the people who take what they have and market and promote and champion that. So use the Platinum incentive while it lasts. The rank awards as well. Me here, maybe you can come in here because I was a little bit vague on this on the Chinese call. For consistency from the 5th of March 2019. What does all of that mean, me here? Are you there?
Yeah, so throughout our history at Leo, you get your rank award, and sometimes that's an ownership award, sometimes that's a Leo coin award, and there's been various ways that those coins have been valued when they've been given to you. Just for ease for everyone and fairness and justice for all, from tomorrow, when you do happen to get a Leo coin award, which is not for every rank, don't get me wrong, but where it is, they'll all be valued in exactly the same way, which is the minimum price that they've been traded on the back of. So that's what people buy them for. That's what people sell them for. That's what you'll get them at. Nice and simple, nice and fair, easy to understand, and easy to explain.
And so the minimum price sets the maximum amount of coins that they can get, rather than using the maximum price, which they would get less
Absolutely right. This gives them a fair evaluation, and this gives them a valuation that is explainable and fair for them.
Very good, very good. So fine. So you heard it here first. So the concluding slide to this webinar is call to action. Get involved now. Use what you have now. Get qualified for the executive trip now. Get your people qualified for the executive trip now. Don't wait. Don't be a brinkmanship merchant. Don't be a person that waits to the last minute. Don't be that guy that crams all night before the test. Do the work now. It's good for you, and it gives you benefit. It gives you a business. It gives you momentum. It gives you all the good stuff. Don't procrastinate. Don't be fearful. Don't be scared. Just pick up the phone and speak to people, because it's a good business that's been here since 2012, and we have no intentions of going anywhere else. Me here, the board, we have a real joyous feeling about the business now, because we're sort of cleaning out some of the cancer and getting rid of some of the bad issues and some of the legacy stuff. And we're moving forward with sort of a very, very clean sheet. And that's all I can say without sort of waiving sort of legal privilege, if you like. But there's very good things happening, and we're moving in a very, very good direction. And so I'm very excited by where we are as a company and where we're going. So look forward to speaking to you next Monday on the 11th of March. That, as it happens, is my 10-year-old son's 11th birthday. So the 11-year-old is on the 11th of March having a birthday, and so that'll be a good one to remember. I may not have time to do a very big webinar, but I'll do my level best to be here. I did promise the Chinese that I would be on the call, so I guess I'm going to have to. So this is me and Mihir Magudia saying thank you very much indeed for coming on the call. Thank you for coming in such big numbers. It's great to see another record-breaking audience and people still coming in. Bizarre. So Dan Anderson saying thank you very, very much indeed, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. All right, charge on. Over and out.